So one of the big, should I say, quote, benefits of Brexit was that the Brexiteers constantly crowed about, oh, you don't understand. When we're free of the EU, we can go and get this, quote, wonderful trade deal with our pal Donald Trump, and it'll be amazing. The US was essentially portrayed as this country that would somehow, and I still say this, somehow come to the UK's rescue and, rescue the UK from its awful Brexit dilemma. However, with Biden in charge, especially with Biden in charge, that ain't going to be the case. And we're going to go over an article from Politico on just this. So before we get into that, please do hit that like and share button. And of course, down below there's a link to my Patreon page and a one-off donation link called Buy Me a Coffee, where you can, buy me a coffee. And thank you to the people who do support me that way. So this comes from Politico, and the title is Britain Braces for a Not-So-Special Relationship with Biden. Boris Johnson has a problem, and it is named Joe Biden. Although the UK has now sealed a trade deal with the European Union covering about $9 billion in tariff-free goods and services annually, the British Prime Minister's hopes for a new arrangement with the United States are confronting the reality of a now transatlantic relationship that is now anything but special. Johnson's allies fear his courtship of Donald Trump is now a liability, and in democratic Washington, along with his advocacy for the breakup with the EU, against the advice of Trump's predecessor. And while Biden's tight-lipped transition team won't reveal its plans for the UK, interviews with 16 officials and former officials on both sides of the Atlantic make clear that Brexit has changed the dynamic. When you wanted to get something done with Europe, you first made, or perhaps made a second call to London, with Charles Kirkland, who served as a senior National Security Council on European Affairs official in both the Obama and Clinton administrations. In 2021, you're still going to call London, but that call will be lower down the queue. Britain doesn't have a seat at the table anymore, thanks to Brexit, he said. Other Democrats speak with wistful terms about the relationship. Winston Churchill once described as fraternal. London will still be a, quote, player, and we will always look to the UK as an ally. We are common refrains, but it's power corridors of Brussels, Paris and Berlin, not number 10 Downing Street and Whitehall, that are increasingly commanding Washington's attention. While the Democrats welcomed Britain's recent $22 billion defence funding increase, the planned close climate cooperation, sorry, I couldn't say that there, said Biden is seeking to strengthen and renew his ties with the EU, and Britain is not going to be a part of that, said one person familiar with Biden's thinking. President Donald Trump had a sometimes rocky relationship with Johnson's predecessor, Theresa May, but his distrust of the EU and NATO meant London was always the White House's preferred partner in Europe. In Johnson, a champion of Brexit, Trump saw a kind of kindred spirit. London hoped for that dividend, a trade deal in 2021. However, Biden's administration doesn't plan to play along. Boris Johnson needs a trade deal to show the domestic utility of Brexit, a person familiar with the president-elect's thinking. Biden's team is promising only to renew any trade deal chapters agreed with the Trump administration to ensure that they are in line with Biden's priorities. The person said that he was talking domestic factors, taking domestic factors into account. The first task is to try and get our house in order, said James Clapper, Director of National Intelligence under President Barack Obama. And based on his interactions with the Biden transition team, Clapper said that helping post-Brexit Britain doesn't appear to me to be the real high on their priority list right now. And it's not hard to see why. The sheer number of domestic challenges that will occupy Biden during his first 100 days will overshadow British efforts to secure a fast-track trade deal in the same time frame. I'd say the best case scenario for a deal is 2022, said Louis Lukens, who served as the US Deputy Ambassador to the UK under President Trump and Obama. Caption agrees that London will have to wait until the second year of Biden's term to be given well, there we go. Sorry about that. London will have to wait until the second year of Biden's term being in place, given the lack of clear Democratic majority in the Senate and wafer-thin margin in the House. There's an important conversation to be had on broader economic issues, but not on bilateral trade, he said. Politically, it would be quite a big blow for the UK if a trade deal can't be secured quickly, said one former senior British diplomat. But in economic terms, it would hardly be noticed. The UK and the US were each other's biggest investors in 2018. But the proposed deal would add only $10 billion to the combined $23 trillion US-UK GDP, leading some politicians from Britain's ruling Conservative class to think that the deal is a transatlantic distraction. Tom Tughart, chair of the UK Parliamentary's Foreign Affairs Committee, told Politico he thinks the UK should instead focus on getting the UK and the US to join the Trans-Pacific Partnership, an 11-country trading bloc including Japan, Canada and Australia, designed in part to counter China's growing economic leverage. The Obama administration helped negotiate a very early version of that deal before President Trump withdrew from it. We should be working with the US on global regulatory reform, carbon pricing, and defending the rules-based system against China. Tughart added that echoed what Biden's transition team had told Politico. So with the UK serving as a G7 president and hosting the UN's annual climate conference this year, Democrats are keen to prioritise issues from COVID-19 to climate and global economic recovery ahead of a trade deal. A UK government isn't ready to talk about Plan B for the deal, but a spokesperson acknowledged the challenge ahead. Securing a comprehensive deal means that matches the depth of the UK-US trading relationship is more important than meeting any particular deadline, the spokesperson said. The timeline for a trade deal in 2021 is indeed daunting. The USTR must notify Congress before pending the approval agreement before the 1st of April. And in order for that to be signed before Congress and fast-tracked through authority, that expires on July the 1st, further complicating matters for the least formal US-UK negotiations ending on the October the 30th, meaning that progress is limited to technical discussions while during the transition. Meanwhile, political staffers at the USTR have been blocking meetings throughout December between Biden and the transition team and career officials, potentially hampering Biden's ability to begin work immediately upon his inauguration. To chime in what Biden's team are saying about Britain, it is positioning a trade deal as an economic recovery tool. This agreement would support both of our economies and build back better from COVID-19, said a UK government spokesperson, who described the talks as being at an advanced stage with a significant proportion of the legal text agreed. Several draft chapters of the deal are close to final or according to negotiating documents seen by Politico, including text on small and medium-sized businesses, investment and digital services, but significant differences remain on including pharmaceutical regulation, textiles and intellectual property. The view of many Democrats is that Johnson bet too heavily on Trump. The UK government continued to believe Trump was going to do favours for them, but that hasn't panned out. The trade deal was going to happen in a matter of weeks, then months. It's now 4 years later, and it hasn't happened, one senior former American diplomat said. It was only after the US trade representative published his trade deal wish list in 2018 that Johnson realised that there would be no favours from the Republicans, having stacked his cabinet with relatively inexperienced Brexit supporters with marching orders to deliver Brexit above all else. Johnson's team doesn't have the relationships they might need with a new Democratic administration, the former diplomat said. The UK government insists that that's an unfair reading of the situation. From the outset, we have engaged with the US partners on bipartisan basis at the federal and state level, a government spokesperson said, and British diplomats have also said that they have long-standing links with Catherine Tai, Biden's pick for the USTR. And that's counted for very little so far in the transition. Biden's team is hyper-disciplined, but not engaging with foreign officials before inauguration. According to both British officials, the Democrats Politico spoke with. Johnson and his allies may instead have to rely on the President-elect Biden's trademark capacity for not holding grudges. So far, British officials aren't breathing a sigh of relief that Biden's team isn't publicly buying into the sharp public criticisms of former President Obama and the administration they have made about Johnson. But privately, Democrats continue to take offense at Johnson's often inflammatory rhetoric, including a really racially charged description of President Barack Obama as America's part-time Kenyan president in 2016. Raising the matter in discussions within a range of British officials, Biden himself described Johnson as a 2019 as a fundraiser as a physical and emotional clone of Trump. Yet those close to Biden insist it's not helpful to over-personalize things. According to one person familiar with his thinking, you have a perfect couples in the mold of Bill Clinton and Tony Blair, or Ronald Reagan and Margaret Thatcher. And then there's pairings with the personalities. They don't mesh, but they may work. One person said the describing likely Biden-Johnson relationship. While there's not a lot of warmth with a former American ambassador admitted, the pair's differences will be water under the bridge, frankly, because the US wants the UK to thrive. While President-elect Biden and his team respect Britain's choice to leave the EU, Democrats nevertheless tend to view Brexit as a poorly executed policy. Secretary of State and designee Anthony Bulkin called Brexit a total mess, while Caption named it an act of self-isolation and that will inevitably diminishes Britain's weight in the world. They also lament that Britain's departure from the EU will make it harder to influence the unwieldy 27 members club. Britain's open economy often acted as a counterweight to the protectionist instincts of France and Germany. The US lost its most effective EU member, said a former senior American diplomat. Now life for the US becomes incredibly more complicated. We have messier coalitions to deal with. Coupland said that Brexit merely accelerates a trend seen since the end of the Cold War, of Washington engaging more directly with Paris and Berlin. Paris has the edge because of its defence instruments, while what will really irritate the UK is that now we will see a return to engaging the EU as an essential partner, and it's fair to see France as on the up, said a former American diplomat. France is on the one that still aspires to be a global actor and has more ambition, said Eileen Lipson, director of the George Mason University Center for Cybersecurity Policies. And senior Democrats back Biden's wish to prioritize better relations with the EU. A senator, Chris Murphy, a close ally of Biden, wants a trade deal with the EU to take priority over the UK. And Richard Neils, another Democrat, said the chair of the powerful House Ways and Means Committee has also urged the incoming administration to renew trade negotiations with the EU. And Biden will continue to follow the UK's negotiations with the EU particularly closely, how peace arrangements with the Northern Ireland are actually handled. Folks are watching what's happening. Where that lands, said a person familiar with the president-elect's thinking. While Biden and his team welcome the government's December 8th recruitment to hold up the Good Friday Agreement in full, the move doesn't guarantee or even speed up a bilateral trade deal, which remains a separate discussion, the person said. In other words, Britain will have to actually earn its trade deal. I think the ball is really in the UK's court, said Lukes, a former ambassador. Whether Boris and his team are actually capable of developing a worldview beyond Brexit remains to actually be seen. And there you have it. We said that this will hamper our world relations. You've got very clear American officials saying, yeah, we've lost a really good partner in the EU. And now we're no longer in the EU and we can't influence them. They are going to prioritise, by the looks of it, France over the UK. So, good one, Brexiteers, on that one. Of course, that was always going to happen. We always said that was going to be the case, but you didn't listen to us. And now we are going to see that definitely play out over next year. So we definitely will not be seeing a trade deal at least until 2022. And the hopes that, again, America was going to come sailing and save Brexit Britain turns out not to be the case. So, as always, thanks for watching. Please do remember to hit that like and share button. And of course, down below, there's a link to my Patreon page and a one-off donation link. And thank you very much to the people who do support me that way. And as always, we'll see you all next time.